Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Focus, Community Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an exemplary couple here from Zion, Illinois, Vernon Poole and also Tanya Poole. They are people that you should know. Greetings, folks.
Hi, Dr. Brooks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vernon Poole is an employee of the Pier Chain Company in North Chicago.
Yes, North
Okay.
Chicago, actually.
And Tanya is a senior sales support specialist from Cardinal Health. What I want to do is, first of all, start off with you, Tanya. Tell our listening audience a little bit about your personal and professional background.
Okay. Currently, as you stated, I've worked for Cardinal Health, one of the best companies in Lake County.
Okay.
Previously, I worked for Walgreens for 23 years and was laid off. Our department was eliminated, and so had a new position currently with Cardinal Health. Vernon and I have 6 children, and we have been married for 24 years. Our children range in age from 32 to 22 at this present time.
Wow,
5
Vernon,
girls,
one
boy.
woman, huh?
Yes,
And
yes.
Tanya, one man.
Yes, bold
only
me.
husband.
Yes, yes, I was bolded over.
Well, Vernon, I'm going to give you the same opportunity I gave Tanya, your wife, to tell our listening audience a little bit about Vernon.
Well, I'm a Virginia-born guy. I'm not from this state. I actually married into here. I was honored in marrying a wonderful woman. Tanya and I, we have 6 kids, as she just said.
Okay.
You know, for a long time, I was a concrete worker. You know,
Okay.
I finished concrete, did construction. I'm now working for the Pier Chain Company. You know, I've been involved in politics. I've worked with some people in politics, and I have a mother-in-law who's in politics. I've worked.
So you have no choice.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. She,
You know, Vernon, you
she groomed me into it.
speaking about your mother-in-law, that's Audrey Nixon,
Yes.
who is my neighbor.
Yes.
Our property abuts each other in North Chicago. She's a Foss Park commissioner for the Lake County
Yes, she
Board,
is. Yes.
District 14.
Yes. Yes.
And also, she's a Foss Park Forest Preserve
yes.
commissioner also. So she's and a member of the Christian Valley Missionary Baptist
Yes.
Church. So I had to give Audrey all of her kudos. You know,
Yes,
she's
yes.
done a great job. But tonight we're going to be talking about family values. And Tanya, you may tell us about, I can remember myself, my parents left the state of Mississippi when I was, about 8 months old, and to East St. Louis for better living conditions and so forth, you know. But my father left the home when I was 2 years old. But I still had family values. The men that my role models were deacons of the church, you know, and so forth,
Right.
and they kept me in line. And so even though I didn't have a man in the home, I still stayed on the right track by staying in church. So tell us that church is very important too, Tanya.
It is. Growing up, my mom, she made sure that my brothers and I, we attended church regularly.
Okay.
We weren't given an option to do that. You stayed in her home. You were going to church and you were going to Sunday school, and even if you didn't learn anything, you were still present. You were going to be in attendance.
Okay.
And so I'm grateful that my mom instilled the importance of having a relationship with God, even though at the time we truly did not understand the capacity of who God was and all that he had done for our family. She still instilled an importance of having a relationship with him. So even though we had strayed away from the path of serving God, we knew a little bit about who he was and what he had done in and through their lives. And so when we got into a place of trouble or despondency, we knew that we could always go to him and get help. And so that's one thing that Vernon and I have instilled in our children, is the importance of having a relationship with God, not just knowing him, but having a personal relationship with him. And the scripture talks about a man that has his quiver filled with arrows, and the arrows are actually your children.
Okay.
Because when you have arrows, you have the ability to shoot them in the direction that they should go.
Like to guide them.
So,
Right. Amen.
Well, Vernon's going to tell us, too, that about your family, too. I mentioned I was the only child and how I raised, but tell us about your, and also how important family values are.
Actually, Dr. Brooks, I come from a large family. There was 11 of us.
Wow.
Six boys, 5 girls.
Okay.
Growing up in Norfolk, my father, he was military.
Okay.
My mom, she worked for some people, housework, something like that.
Okay.
I went through a period of my life, my young life, I was in foster home for a short period. That's something that I really don't share with many people, but I guess everybody knows now.
The whole world knows now. I literally mean the whole world because it's online.
Yes.
So be careful what you say.
No. I mean, it's all done in.
Okay, yeah, right.
It's all done in honesty, and it actually will bring me to where we are now.
Okay.
Was that foster home ended up being a place that I learned about church.
Okay.
God.
Okay.
Before I'd ever, going to foster home, I had an opportunity. I'd never been to church.
Okay.
For four years of my young life, between the age of 3 and 7,
Okay.
I had a very good foster mother.
Okay.
My parents, which I love them both, dearly, but they both had, things that was going on inside of their lives. So we came home to a brand new stepmother and a brand new stepfather.
Okay.
And, the family was somewhat split. Well, honestly, foster home was for me a comfort. I had all of the things there that I didn't really have once I came home. And the person who instilled a lot in me was no longer there in my life. So as I grew, my life took some turns, Well, one of the things that I knew, I never thought that I would actually, find someone as lovely as my wife.
Oh.
And some of the things that I went through as a young man growing up, I didn't want my children to go through. So coming into our marriage, family was a very important thing for me. Coming from the South and you're having, my mom, she's 87 now.
Wow.
My stepfather, he recently passed here in October. He was 90. Wow. My father passed at the age of 77.
Wow.
Sorry, lost my train of thought there.
I tell you, with the background you've had, tell us about the importance of education.
Actually,
you mentioned that you have both of you 5 girls and 1 boy, right?
1 boy, yes.
Tell us about the importance of education.
Well, with me, education was a very important thing because it was something that, I wanted our kids to have a chance to, be able to deal in a world that was really changing.
Okay.
And we started with them when they was young. We instilled it in them, the importance of school, the importance of education. I told them the easiest thing to be was nothing.
Okay.
It took no effort.
Right.
I mean, if you didn't do nothing, you wouldn't, you wouldn't have nothing, basically. So my wife and I, we instilled in them, you know, the importance of education and how far it could take you. And it could take you places that you would never imagine you could go. You know, so we, you know, we talked about, you know, college at a young age, you know, because we wanted that instilled in their head, you know, in them. And as they grew, you know, my wife, she put them in touch with the college tours that they would take kids to different colleges, you know, and I mean, you know, we bloomed from there.
It sounds like we have 3, and my son, I asked him, was he going to college? He said, Daddy, do we have a choice?
Absolutely.
So it sounds like you and Tanya both, this was your livelihood.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes.
Not running the streets and finding out what's out there. You are right there, as being a role model for your children.
Yes.
So actually, they didn't have an option, right?
Oh, well, you know.
Because you trained them that way, you know?
I want to tell you a story. This is kind of funny, though.
Okay.
You know, it was one of the incidents that, you know, one of our kids got into at school, and she did not think that her dad would actually come to school.
Okay.
So I didn't tell her, you know, I was coming. I just showed up.
Okay.
And I asked the teacher, would it be okay for me to sit into the class? And my daughter looked around and she seen me, and all of a sudden she was like, just, you know, and everybody knew that I was her dad because she was the one who, you know, but that was something that was very special for me because I wanted them to know that I loved them that much. Their education meant that much to us that I would take time off my job to go down to make sure things was going well with them.
And Tanya, parental involvement is so important, right, for the success of education of your children.
It definitely is. Vernon and I, we kept our kids, you know, pretty busy during the summertime, and when they could work, they did work. I mean, we tried to make them teach them how to be responsible very early. I think my daughter, she would say that she started work at 13. I don't know how true that is, but she did start working. They all worked at an early age, and they are still working today. You know, my son, he plays sports, and he probably was every single sport, every season he played something. So we just did our best to make sure that they were busy. You know, were they perfect? Absolutely not. But we did everything that we could within our own strength and ability, you know, to make sure that they understood the importance of being educated, the importance of getting a college education, and just fulfilling those things that they felt they wanted to do on the inside of them. And so following their dreams and their passions. And we're just so grateful to God that they were able to do it.
You have a great mother too, Audrey Nixon.
Absolutely.
She doesn't hesitate, and she should be. She's proud of you because she let everyone know about Tanya. And I mentioned at the top of the show, you are people that Lake County should know. And tell us about your the great accomplishments of your children.
Well, my oldest daughter, Cerise, she has a degree in business.
Okay.
My daughter, Maisha, will be graduating from Roosevelt University in about 4 weeks. Her degree will be in communication. And her desire is to be a public relations person. April is currently in school at Alabama A&M University. She's getting her master's degree in counseling psychology. She's going to go on to get her doctoral degree in industrial organization psychology.
Fantastic.
My daughter Emily is actually not in school at this time, but she'll start school in the summer, restart school in the summer at Trinity. She got her associate's degree from the College of Lake County in psychology. And so my son, he started out in education. Right now, he is going to Oakton College, I'm sorry. And he is going back to school to get his degree in education as well. My daughter Tiffany, she got her degree from the University of Memphis. And her degree is in family consumer science with a minor in marketing and a concentration in fashion. I have to think about all of those words that go together.
That comes along with it.
But she actually is a teacher at Jefferson middle school in Waukegan, and so she's going to school to get her master's in education.
Wow.
And so we are so godly proud of them and their accomplishments. I mean, you know, they really have worked hard.
This will be a grand time when everybody get together and a family reunion, you know, and with the different skills and the different professional attributes, you know, that they've been involved in.
Yes.
And they decided themselves what profession they want to go into, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was their choice.
Yes.
I can remember my daughter, April, asking my mom, Grandma, how do you know what you want to do in life? I think she told me she was probably about 10 or 11.
Okay.
And my mom told her, you'll just know, April, you'll just know. And April said from that time, from that discussion with my mom, she knew exactly what she wanted to do. Yes. She wanted to be a counselor.
Yes.
Wow.
And so that's what she's doing. She's fulfilling that dream and purpose of counseling.
I wonder did your children inspire you to go further in education? Because I understand you're getting a master's pretty soon, right?
Yes.
Yes, I am. I think it was something that I had always wanted to do, but I, you know, kind of did things out of sync. I had my children, you know, first, and then, you know, my desire was always to get an education, and so I did. I went back to school and got my bachelor's degree from Trinity University, and now I'm graduating with my degree in psychology from Grand Canyon University. So I'm pretty excited about that as well.
I'm pretty
Fantastic.
going down with you.
And I understand you'll be going down to...
yes, to Phoenix. We're going to Phoenix
On
April 21st.
The graduation's 24th.
That is what,
24th.
this was for your graduation.
Yeah, this is my graduation.
Yes, for her.
This is fantastic.
This is my graduation.
And Pops, you have to have your chest way out there too, you know.
Do you know, I mean,
because you've done your job.
Dr. Brooks, just being at the different graduations and just being there with my wife. And I mean, it's like a high, you know, it's just like a natural high. I'm just there.
Right.
And I mean, I'm like the proud dad, just, you know, just there. And, you know, we've met other kids through the graduations that we went to, you know, our kids' school, to where we went back to some of their graduations as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, this is fantastic. Now, tell us about what piqued your interest in Trinity University. I understand one of your daughters interested in Trinity too, right?
Yes, my youngest daughter.
Yes.
Evangelical.
It is. I guess at the time that I was actually looking for a school, I had actually just started going to Christian Faith Fellowship Church in Waukegan. That's where we go.
Okay.
And so I wanted to go someplace where I felt God was. And I know that sounds, you know, religious, but I just wanted to go where, you know, I could get an education and where people believed in God. That was important to me at that time. And so that's why I actually chose that school. One of my friends was going at the same time. So we both went to Trinity and ended up graduating together. So I just wanted to go someplace where, you know, that they love God and love people. So I just wanted to go there.
Right. And let's see, you spoke about God. God is omnipotent. He's omnipresent.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So he's everywhere. But when you spoke about God is love.
Yes, he is.
And we're supposed to love. It's one of the problems we have in this world. We just don't love each other. Now, if God sent his son on this earth to suffer for our sins, to die, buried, raise from the dead, and go by. He died for us.
Right.
Yes, he did.
So if he can do all of that, we should be able to love one another, right?
You would think so.
What is the problem?
Well,
is Satan got that much influence over us?
You know, yes, Satan does have a big role in it, but I believe that each person, you know, they make their own, you know, their own decision when it comes to something like that. I mean, how can how can I say that I love God and I don't love this God that I don't see?
Right.
That's a key.
And this man that I do see.
Okay.
I mean, I look back.
The Bible says he's a liar, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, yeah,
and the truth is not in him.
Well, yes.
That is true.
But you know what, Dr. Brooks, I remember before I had gotten married, years before I had gotten married, cause I lived in different states doing work, and it seemed like, someone was always coming to me talking about God. And at the time, it just really wasn't in me.
Okay.
And I continued to run. But then wow. My wife got in church, and we got a family.
That turned you around.
And yes, I mean, and so, and it has given me an opportunity to be able to talk to others and, do it without any reservation and be, completely honest.
You spoke of one of your children majoring in communications.
Yes.
And you have to have good communications within a family to be successful, right?
Right. In any relationship, and even in your relationship with God, you have to communicate to God. And if I could just go back and interject a little bit about the love situation, I think our biggest issue in this world now is that, the scripture says that how can we love, each other if we don't, the scripture says, how can you love God who you don't see and you love man that you do see? And I think a part of that issue is that we don't love ourselves.
Oh.
And if you don't love yourself, it's impossible to love someone else. You have to love yourself in order to love someone else. You have to. And I think that's the biggest issue that we have. We have so much in this world that distracts us. We have materialistic things. We have so many things that keep us from self-love. But the greatest love that anyone, to me, that could ever have is to love yourself and be at peace with yourself.
Amen.
If you don't have that, you can't have a healthy relationship. There won't be any genuine communication if you don't have love. And so it's so very important to me and to us and with our children is to be able to love yourself and accept yourself, because all of us were made in God's image and his likeness. And so he actually downloaded everything that you would need and I would need and Vernon would need, that we all would need to be successful in life. And so I think sometimes we get preoccupied with what other people have and think that if I had that would make me feel successful and complete, when in actuality you're complete already, because you came here a complete package. God is strategic in everything that he does, and he's purposeful. And so everything that you need is on the inside of you.
So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You know what, Jim? What I was going to say was something that, when it came to our kids, when they was younger, I told them that there was nothing that they would ever disappoint me in, and I kept a communication line open with them, and I told them, I mean, there's nothing that would ever make me not love them or care about them. And I remember a lot, when I was growing up, one of the biggest things was that, my parents didn't go through the thing of saying, I love you. Their thing was, I'm taking care of you, roof over your head. To them, that was love. I mean, even up till, the day that my father passed, I never remembered him telling me that he loved me. And because of that, I made sure that my children, that my wife knew, that I loved them. I didn't want them to guess and say, man, I wonder whether Dad cared about me. I wonder that, because I didn't want them to say, well, I bought you clothes, that's love, because that's not love, And I told them that there was nothing that we couldn't talk about. And the reason why I told them that is because, first of all, I love them with everything that's in me as a father. But, if you don't instill in your kids, then someone else will put something else in them, you know. And I wanted them to know that they didn't have to go nowhere. You know, what we have is right here. We're a family, you know, and we're a strong family. We're a loving family. And I wanted them to know that. So when things happen, you know, they would tell me. You know, they didn't have to lie. You know, because I told them that.
Well, Tanya's going to expand on that in talking about mental health.
Oh, wow. That's one of my favorite subjects.
Yes, it is. Yes.
I just think it's so important, especially for the African American community, not leaving out any other race or nationality. But I just think it's so important for us as African Americans, black people, that we, you know, take care of our mental health. I just think it's so important, because a lot of times we go to church with, sometimes we're so religious, and God is, as you've already stated, he's not just one-dimensional, you know, and sometimes there are problems that people experience in their life. You know, they're raped, they're molested, they're rejected, they feel abandoned, they feel depressed. And so all of those things, there are counselors, there is help for that. And sometimes pastors, you know, they're pastors, but they're not mental health counselors. And so we have to, as a people, I think, you know, be real with ourselves. If we know that someone needs counseling, then go get counseling. It's okay to go get counseling and still be a Christian. Like I said, God is not one-dimensional. He's multifaceted. And so everything stems from him anyway. He's the creator of everything, and science stems from God. It's not that science was separated from God. Everything stems from the creator. And so he created everything. And so I just think it's so vital, important, that if you have a family member that's suffering with drug addiction, depression, don't wait until things get so bad to get them help. Try to get them help now. Get involved. And even if it's your neighbor, someone that you know, we are our brothers and sisters' keeper. And so it's so important to be, make sure that people are taking care of themselves. If you see them on drugs, I know you can't, make people go and get help, but, at least give them, talk to them and encourage them to get help.
That you care about them,
it's so
what
important.
they're going through,
Absolutely.
That they can go somewhere to, get help.
Yes,
and
it's
if,
so important.
And if they can't, get their cells, that I'll help them if they allow me to. There was this young man that used to walk around in North Chicago, and, he would always have a bunch of clothes on, and he would appear as if he was talking to himself, walking down the street, and a lot of people would just stay clear of him, they wouldn't talk to him. I would see him, I would give him money to go get him something to eat, or, try to hold a conversation with him. And, he got to where, when he would see me, I mean, he didn't jump up and say, hey, how you doing? But he would acknowledge, and, I mean, it made me feel good that I was able to, to be able to talk to him or reach him, and make him feel like he wasn't less than, I mean, there's a lot of times that, people do that in our neighborhoods. They'll look at a person and say, well, the person's crazy, the person this here. But you never know what the person went through. You don't know what their story was, and instead of just running away from them, I run to them and, try and just talk to them or help them.
This is why education is so important. Should ministers be trained? They can't counsel really unless they're trained counselors, right?
Well, there's different levels of counseling. Now, for a pastor, they can counsel, and they are licensed to counsel. They can counsel. But when you're talking about some regular counseling
mental health
versus
is different.
clinical. Clinical is different. Situational is different. And so every person has to be true to themselves. Whether or not they have the grace and the anointing to do it, I mean, only that individual can say that, because, I mean, you can't put all pastors and ministers in a category together, because a lot of them some of them have doctoral degrees.
Okay.
And so it just depends on their experience and their comfortability with handling someone that has a mental disorder, or, you know, it just depends. You can't say if they can do it or not, because I don't know what type of grace and anointing is on their life, and the call is just, it's personal, and so that person has to be true to themselves to be able to determine that.
And then also churches, Brother Vernon, is physical health too, right?
Yes.
In other words, there should be training, and we got so many resource people in our like Lake County Health Department that are willing to volunteer and come out and have training sessions.
We've been to a few, they have like men fellowships.
Okay.
You know, we was in one in Milwaukee. It lasted for 5 days. In that 5-day period, they offer, they had people who came out who did prostate exams, then people talking about mental issues, high blood pressure. You know, one of the biggest things inside the African American neighborhoods is we have a lot of men dying from colon cancer, from prostate cancer. I was talking to a friend of mine last Friday, and I kind of got a little irritated, because he said to me that he was going to have his prostate exam, but when he got to reading the stuff that he had to drink to cleanse his body, and he had said, well, you possibly can have a seizure or something like that. And I felt like he just read that and just copped out and said that he didn't want to have it. Well, that is something that is really killing a lot of men, or a lot of African American men, for the simple reason that they don't want to have their test. They feel like it's, it deals with their manhood. But at the same time, it's something that's going to save their lives, why would you take something that's so trivial, because this is just going on between you and your doctor, or you and the person that's doing it, and it could possibly save your life, or cut you, find out something that's going on with you, and I feel like a lot of them use it as a way not to do it, and that's kind of ignorant, I mean, why would you take the chance in not being with your family, your children, your wife?
It's so important as part of training and bringing up children too, is preventive measures.
Absolutely.
If you take, for example, in 2005, I had a preventive prostate. Well, I had been taken after 40 years old. You start taking them, and my count was like 5.2 or something like that. But then when I was treated for it, treated for it, it was such a minuscule problem that I got rid of it, and I have had any problem since. Now, had I not had the preventive test, it would have enlarged, and I would have had problems like operations and all this type of thing. So everybody look at me and say, well, you look fine, you look, but you can't go by looks.
That's right.
You have to go and take the preventive measures and be tested on a regular basis. Prostate is just one example. There are many others,
Dr. Brooks, for me, that's, it really hits home, because I have a brother. He's 2 years older than me. Had his prostate taken out. I have a brother that's a year younger than me. Had his prostate.
But he hadn't been taking a preventive test, leading up to it.
They took. I mean, I don't know whether they took it in time.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
you know, it was, you know, when they did take her, they found out that, yes, their count was high and that, you know, the cancer was there and they, you know, had their prostates taken out. You know, now, you know, me, I'm checking. Right, because I want to be here. You know, I want to be able to grow older and see the things that my children and my grandchildren, you know, and you know, be here with my wife. So yes, I'm going to do everything possible.
In moving into any city, like you say, you live in Zion, Illinois, and I'm in North Chicago, along with Arjun and so forth. But before anyone would move into any city, they would check out the conditions, like how the park district is, the educational system, and the city, and all these aspects. Now, at one time, North Chicago had a lot of bad press.
Yes.
The News Sun would cover all the bad things that would happen, and now we don't have any press at all, except when there's a murder or something like that. But you don't have that problem, I guess, in Zion. I don't read in the papers much.
Well, you know, we've lived in Zion since what? How long have we been there now? We moved in
6 years.
Okay, 6 years.
Okay.
Before then, most of our time was in North Chicago. All of our kids graduated from North Chicago High.
Oh, okay.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Now, when
all kids graduate from North Chicago?
Every single one
every
of them.
single
And
one.
North Chicago school system was great then, right?
Yes.
Every
Well,
single one of them.
I mean, it had its flaws.
I had 3 graduated also.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you stayed on top of it, though.
Yes, absolutely.
You went to the classroom.
Yes,
and so
indeed.
forth, you know?
Yes, yes. We went to teachers' meetings.
But what has been the change now? We talked about this. The state has taken over the school system now. You know.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's been a lot of shady things that took place within the high school system. But what I wanted to talk about, Dr. Brooks, was this. When we first moved into North Chicago, when our kids was younger, there was a part of on Jackson. We bought a home there within the 1700 block of Jackson.
Okay.
Now that particular part of Jackson was really, at that time, was considered nice.
Elite,
you know, I mean, really, I mean, was happy to live there. Home was really nice, and
I think the superintendent of schools, Harmon, I think he lives about that too. Yeah.
A matter of years. 10 years or so, I saw that area go down and down and down. And I seen, we started having people there that was never there before. The CHAs went through a thing where they emptied out the CHA's, homes in Chicago, and all of the people came to the different suburbs, and with that came a multitude of crime. And it put North Chicago right up there, and it was, I mean, and it hasn't, go.
But I was going to say that I think every city probably has its own issues, and they're just probably different, depending on the community that you live in. And I just think that, I love North Chicago. I don't care what I read about in the paper. It doesn't, that's where I grew up. I grew up on Hervey before my mom and dad had a house built. We lived on Hervey. People called it the projects. I didn't know what a projects was. To me, it was a community where everybody cared for each other and their children. And so I just think that, it's up to the people that live in the community. Whether you're a renter, a homeowner, you live in that city, you have a responsibility. Not just to the city, and to your children.
To your children.
And, to their education.
To your neighbor's children.
So, to me, I love North Chicago. I don't care what they write in the paper. I don't care what I see on Facebook about it. I grew up there. My children were raised in that city. So I just think it's up to the people. It's up to us. We have to get involved. We elect a mayor, we elect aldermen and all of that, but you still have to pay. You have to be a participant in your community, no matter where you live.
Well, we speak about the school system. Right now we have what we call babies raising babies.
Oh, yes.
You know, I know last year there was a young lady graduated from high school, had two children. You know, so actually the change that has taken place over the past 10 years, and like you say, made an influx, you know, of people from the city of Chicago has made that difference.
Yes, it did.
But we used to have and you probably remember, the Navy had a great percentage of the students at the high school.
Right.
Yes.
Back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you probably don't have any.
Well, yeah, I think most of that's gone. Because they said something about they wasn't paying taxes to the city, but their children was, you know, going
they got what they call
schools,
impact.
but they really wasn't right. They really wasn't, you know, the money wasn't there for the military kids to, you know, be able to, you know.
That's amazing, though. A military installation.
I mean, you would have figured that
they have a negotiated amount that they pay the school.
I mean, you would have figured
they don't pay the exact amount, they negotiate the amount. You know?
Yes, but you know what? You said something. You said about the young, you know, the babies having babies, and you know what? That was one of the things that I, you know, used talking to my daughters, because we have 5 girls.
Okay.
You know, and when we used to go to the picnics, cookouts, you know, it was like, you know, man, Tanya Vernon got all those girls, you know, they're gonna have a bunch of, you know, babies, but actually, that was one of the things that I used talking to my daughters, because the bad part about that was that they would have some friends that would be in school that would get pregnant, you know, and because of that, it would change their whole path, you know. And one of the things that, you know, Tanya and I have always been really adamant about is a child, you know, living as a child, enjoying life as a child, you know, in a teenager, you know, and, you know, on into their adulthood. But, you know, if somewhere along their line they have, you know, kids, you know, that can deter them from that path. And I mean, I'm not saying that they won't be able to rebound from it, you know, but you know, it would make them go a different route, you know. So, you know, I wanted my girls to know that, you know, the education was important, you know, and you got time later on to, if you want to, you know, be married and have kids, you know, you can do that, but. You know, get the things in life that's important to you first.
Now, all your children were academically inclined, but what about sports? Did they take part in sports?
Yes, all of our kids were in sports.
They played
sports,
too.
So they were well rounded.
We had bowlers. We had bowlers, tennis players. Yes.
You name it, they played it.
Yes. And, you know, my daughter, Tiffany, the one that Tanya was talking about, taking the fashioning and the one's teacher, she was a kid. I mean, she was just made sure that she had me at the basketball games with her. I mean, all the time. And now, you know, she's like a fashion model now. You know, I mean, you know. But yes, they all of our kids, was into sports.
Well, we talked about it academically, and we talk about sports, you know. But what about spirituality? Now, how important it is for a women's retreat?
I think it's so important. And then I'm just going to piggyback off what you said about, you know, babies raising babies.
Okay.
I
couldn't get away with that.
I couldn't. I was trying to wait for y'all to stop talking so I could jump in and interject.
All right.
Okay.
But I had my oldest daughter when I was 18 years old. So I have a passion for, you know, single mothers, young mothers. I just feel like it's our responsibility, you know, to help those young mothers, not only with their children, but with themselves.
Okay.
To me, as I said once before, I say it again, we are downloaded. We come to this earth pre-packaged with a purpose and destiny from God.
Okay.
And so it's so important to me, and I think we have shared this with our kids, friends, and you know, it's just so important that people understand that no matter what lot in life you have been given, you still have a purpose and destiny from God.
Okay.
And so you need to find out, and He's the only one that can tell you. You have to go back to your Maker. But it's so important to know that every person that is here right now was created with a purpose and destiny. And so it's part of our responsibility to encourage those single mothers to not only raise their children, but also, you know, understand that they have a purpose here as well.
But we had you know, when I was small coming along, we had extended families that help us, you know, with not only the mother, the father, but people in the community.
Right, absolutely.
If you got out of line,
absolutely,
you will get chastised by your neighbors.
Yes.
And boy, when the parents find out about that when they get home, you're going to get
Exactly.
Yes.
That's how it was.
But now it's, I think the political structure now, because I had my granddaughter when she was, well, granddaughter's in college now. She's at, you know, in medicine now. She's nursing. But she said, Grandma, if you hit me, I'm going to call the police.
Yeah.
Now, that was when she was, I don't know, maybe 8, 9 years old or whatever, you know, she's going to call. So actually, our structure now says child abuse. What happened to the football player in Minnesota, Peterson?
Yes.
He used a switch or something. He didn't use a belt on his, did he?
Yes.
And he got chastised for it. It almost cost his career.
Right.
You know.
You know that. Well, yes, that situation was very unfortunate. But you know what? You did say something that was a big issue, was that I seen a lot change in the neighborhoods when you had a lot of young mothers who were saying, I'm not going to raise my child like my mom raised me.
You
know, my mother was, you know. But the mother instilled into the child, the young mother raised the child to be their friend.
Okay.
And that became a problem.
To take that too.
You
ready to come back with that too? Because we got so many cases like that.
Yes, who said, you know, I'm not going to raise my child like this. And, you know, yes, I know that you,
I have no qualms with, you know, there's different, and I understand. I agree with you that that is part of it. But I still go back to the fact that people don't love themselves. How can you love kids and we have to
but you still have to raise them.
But
they
we have
still
to
have
look
to
at
be
it
raised.
from this perspective.
You know.
A lot of children, a lot of people who have relationships at a young age are looking for love.
Okay.
That's what they're looking for. You don't go out and have a relationship with someone when you feel complete. You just don't, because you know who you are. When you're looking for love in all the wrong places, you will end up a mother at 18 as I did.
Okay.
You're looking for something and someone to fulfill a void that's in you that no one in the world could ever feel. And they weren't created to feel it.
Right.
But we because we sometimes don't have these examples before us, we don't know, and so we're deceived. And we talked about Satan, but that's one of the biggest deceptions in the world, is that someone else on the outside of you can fulfill something on the inside of you, and they can't. It can't not be done.
Yeah,
just know why the gangs have taken over.
Well, you know,
making the kids believe that they love them. They can they can fill that void.
Right. Yes. You know, I mean, because they have them, you know, out there thinking, well, you know, you don't have a father. You know, you are a mother that's raising a son.
Okay.
Okay. So they say that it takes a man to raise a man. You know, because of that, a lot of the gangs prey on, you know, young men out here who don't have fathers. You can bring them in and tell them that I'll look after you, or you know, we're a family, and that's not family. And that's not looking after them. You know, no. And, you know, it's stuff just like that that I say, because their family structure, you know, you have to pour into your children, you know, because if you don't, then someone else will. And that's that someone else that I'm talking about right there. So I let my girls know, and I let my son know that they don't have to go looking nowhere, you know, else for any, you know, fulfillment, because we love them. We're going to raise them. You know, it may not be like, I mean, you know, there are going to be some times that they'll probably be upset about it, but believe me, they're going to know that Dad loves me.
So you're not looking for the school to raise your children?
I'll raise my own children. No,
Okay.
no, because you know what? A lot of times people do that. You know, you send your child well, you letting someone else raise them, and you don't know what's happening to the child. And then you wonder why they didn't stop speaking or stop talking to people, or they're, you know, they, yeah.
You know, I mentioned, I think I mentioned a women's retreat.
You did.
Did you concentrate?
I did not. I went back to the,
that's
the
right.
young women. I apologize. But it is so important, even in ministry and serving in ministry and being a part of the church, it's so important to fellowship with other women.
It really is.
It's just vital to your health. You need someone that you can share, you know, your concerns and your issues with. It's just so vital. All of us were created to fellowship with something and someone. And so for women, we seem to do that with ease. For us, we can just, you know, connect it, you know, and talk and share. And so it's so important, no matter what ministry a person is involved in, that they get involved in ministry and fellowship with other women.
Before we close here, you know, Dr. Brooks, that's one of the things that's always been important to my wife and I. You know, we have various young people at our church, you know, and there's sometimes, you know, they're having problems in church, young men, you know, that I try to, you know, go and, you know, talk to and spend time with and try to help them out, because, I mean, you know, a lot of times, man, we tend to think that we're the only person that's going through what we're going through. And that's one of the biggest tools that the devil, you know, play on us. So we won't tell people, you know, some of the things that we're being faced with. But, you know, in talking with, you know, young people, I try to be completely honest with them and let them know that, yes, you're going to make mistakes in life, you know, but you don't let the mistake make you. You know, you just get up from that and you dust it off and you move on, and you don't, you know, let that stop you from being all that you can be. You know, and you know, we're going through a thing inside of our church now where we have, you know, single parent, and you know, they have, you know, young men, you know, and I've been trying to talk to them and keep them on the straight and narrow, and just let them know that, you know, we talk about anything, because I don't want them to, you know, become part of the gang. So if I can spend that time with them, and you know, I'm willing to, like.
Speaking of spending time, what do you guys do for leisure time activities? Do you have any time?
We come here.
Oh my goodness. We actually do a lot at our church. We go to Christian Faith Fellowship Church in Waukegan. Our pastors, our Pastor Willie and Pastor Kathy Moulton. And so a lot of our time is spent, my husband is over program is called Treasures for Your Home.
Yes.
And so it's an outreach ministry where we distribute household items to
needy families,
and then
yeah.
we work with other organizations like Catholic Charity, Community Action.
Oh.
I mean, my mom is a big family advocate, so a lot of time we're at her house on Sundays.
I mean, we do spend time, ourselves. We do get out.
So mom love to cook, huh?
My mom, she doesn't
she's
cook.
a hard act to find.
Somebody else in the family will cook.
Yes,
she is 100% for
yes,
her
she
children and
is.
her grandkids.
Yes, she is.
Always being
Yes,
at her
she
house
is.
for Sunday
Yes.
dinner, whatever holiday it is. Family is a big thing for us, so we definitely do that.
You know, Dr. Brooksman said, I got blessed. I was blessed with my mother-in-law. I mean, because I have a really wonderful mother-in-law. I mean,
okay.
And so,
So people
Yes.
talk about mother-in-law.
yes,
But you have nothing
People
good to
talk
say
about that,
yours, huh?
but mine's no. You know what? I think I handpicked her myself.
Well, Lake County has been very fortunate
Yes, they
to have Vernon Poole, who's employee of Pure Chain Company, and
Thank you.
on part 2, we'll talk about Pure Chain Company on that. But we're involved in family matters tonight.
Absolutely.
And you guys did a great job. And
Thank you.
And talking about family matters tonight.
Thank you
And
for
also Tanya Poole, a senior sales support specialist at Cardinal Health.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it's just right across the street from the studio. You didn't have to come very far to come. So I really appreciate both of you talking about the importance of education.
Thank you.
The importance of family. As a matter of fact, family matters.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And nothing like family matters. And I'd like to let you know that the world will hear you and see you in just a few days. It'll be online, and ladies and gentlemen, you can go right to us, drbrooks.tv. In a few days, it'll be online, and you could let your all the kids that are in different colleges and around, they'll be able to see it too online.
All right, thank you.
This has been Community Forum. My name is Dr. Wardell Brooks Sr., your host.